time travel, a concept that no one has ever thought of ever, and not cliche in any way at all. Even the Mario franchise took a whirl through with Mario's Time Machine, which, as we all know, is one of the greatest Mario games of all time. Eventually, the idea of time traveling would end up in another Mario game a decade later, a sequel to Superstar Saga, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Last time, in my Superstar Saga video, I talked about its universally loved and regarded as the best Mario and Luigi game after maybe Bowser's Inside Story. Partners in Time, meanwhile, doesn't get nearly the same love, and for a while, it wasn't very well liked at all. Although that has changed a lot in recent years. I remember buying it in 2021, I got stuck around a quarter of the way through and just gave up. But a game like this deserves better than that. And since I'm in a Mario and Luigi mood after playing Superstar Saga, let's tackle Partners in Time too, and see if it's either a great game I treated unfairly, or if I was right to quit it when I did. Just like Superstar Saga, Partners in Time has a fantastic title screen. There's color, the Mario Bros. Ride the Clock hands. It's just well designed and appealing to look at. And you know what, since I don't do this very often, let's try something new, but looking at the cover art and manual. This has got to be one of my favorite covers of the DS library. You got Mario and Luigi along with their baby counterparts, Princess Peach being held by some alien mushrooms, what looks like Bowser Jr., Baby Peach, Toadsworth and this other Toad with a black mustache, another Toad, a hot Koopa girl, Yoshi, this weird swirly thing, a castle being set on fire, and UFOs. Now, what more could you ask for? I miss game manuals so much too. All the color and illustrations are so nostalgic, it gets me pumped up for the game to come. And now it's time for the opening cutscene. And this one does really get you in the mood. It tells the story of an alien race looking for a new place to conquer. Earth, or the Mushroom Kingdom. I don't remember if it's ever said the planet Mario games took place on was actually Earth or not, but I'm gonna assume it is. Immediately after, the tone changes and we see the first ever Mario adventure, well, I mean after Yoshi's Island, for cast are all toddlers. Things aren't that much different than normal since Bowser tries to kidnap Peach and Mario stops him. Actually, now that I think about it, the first 5 Mario RPGs except for Thousand Year Door all have Bowser as the first fight in the game. Still though, this is a perfect way to begin the game. And like would be for the following decade, Mario defeats Bowser with ease. But unlike normal, flying saucers attack the castle, but as you wonder what will happen next, the game changes settings again, this time to the present day Mushroom Kingdom. Professor Egad has just built a new time machine, which is an impressive jump for making vacuum cleaners, I have to say. But anyway, everyone is quite impressed, as they should be. Even Peach decides to try it out to return to the Mushroom Kingdom's past. But things go terribly wrong, as when the time machine returns to Peach, an alien monster comes out. Stranger still, a vortex opens up in the courtyard, leading to the past. Alright, I have a few things I want to say. One, I think it's cool that Egad made another appearance in the Mario RPG, only this time having a much bigger role. 2, I think Princess Peach looks way better with solid black eyes instead of colored ones. I don't know what it is, but she looks way more mature, and looks like a much more capable leader without her blue eyes. Sounds weird, I know. 3, why does Toadsworth have a portrait of Peach in his room? And 4, Luigi acts completely out of character by sitting right on the edge of the crater at the time portal's end to get a better view. Or maybe it's completely in character seeing his bad luck and all, because Toadsworth rams into the crater by accident, causing Luigi to fall in, and Mario jumps in to save him. On the other side is the Mushroom Kingdom of Mario and Luigi's youth, and okay, I really don't want to complain, but the start of this game really is a drag, for one simple reason. But loads and loads of unskippable tutorials. Everything, and I mean everything, has to be explained to you, even something as simple as equipping stuff, but it's to take way longer too. To be fair, every Mario RPG has handling to some extent, but here it's a whole new level. The suitcase Egad gives to Hero Stuffwell is sentient, and oh god is he insufferable. He always walks so slow during these tutorials, and it just plain pisses me off. I swear, him saying back to the adventure is the most satisfying thing ever. Anyway, the portal leads to Holly Jolly Village, or as it should be renamed, Gloomy, Ungodly, Terrifying Village, because the village has been obliterated by aliens. There's just no one here except for this one Toadmare, but even he gets abducted. Then there's a fight that you always have to lose. You go back to controlling the babies, they save the day, and soon afterwards the babies and adults team up. The main goal, like it always is to save the princess and the Mushroom Kingdom, this time from these aliens. To do so, you have to collect the fuel source of a time machine, a cobalt star, and travel across the land and collect each piece. Now let's finally get on to gameplay mechanics. While it might use a lot of aspects from Superstar Saga, quite a bit has been changed and tons of new things are added. The main key mechanic of Partners in Time is the baby bros and adult bros splitting up to complete tasks, whether it be puzzles, to get somewhere, or to find items. When separated, each duo can do their own neat tricks. The adult bros can use a spin jump to float across large spaces, and the bros ball, which lets them roll around to get places fast, or make it through platforms that have gaps in them. I do have something to say about that though, and that's just how weird it'd be in a ball with someone else, even if you would not die instantly. Their butts are probably close to their mouths and all that, like, that's not a fate I would wish on anyone. If the adult bros use their techniques next to the babies, they can do some combo moves as well, like the baby spin or baby kegs. Okay, I thought the bros ball was weird, but this is just messed up, and being flattened doesn't sound fun, but apparently they seem to like it. Since this is a DS game, the top and bottom screens are both used for different purposes. Now, most DS games use a top screen as the main one, while the bottom screen acts as either the map screen or for menus and stuff. While Partners in Time, it's actually reversed, with the bottom screen being the main one, while the top one's for maps and such. Although, if the babies are separated from the adults and enter a new area, the top screen becomes the main display. And a lot of cutscenes also use both screens, with a lot of things moving between the two. Now this is a pretty cool thing if you're playing the game, not so much if you're watching a video, and because of the way I like to ratio my DS screens and capture the more important screen being large and the other one being small, you guys aren't going to get to see how a lot of the game looks in quite the same way. I mean, I could have done some extensive editing like Chica Conroy did for his Let's Play of Partners in Time, but I'm too lazy for that, and hardly anyone's going to bother watching this video anyway, so it really doesn't matter. As for battles, they work like just any other Mario and Luigi game, only you play with 4 characters instead of 2 or 3. Well, sort of. You play as each bro pair when they're separated, but when they're together, the babies piggyback. But you do get to do things like double jumps. First, press X or Y and then A or B. And with hammers, you press A and then X, and then B or Y. And while counterattacking, use X or Y for the hammers instead of A and B like the rest of the series. The one thing that does really suck though is how the adults can't use the hammers if they're separated from the babies. One of the things that wasn't brought back from Superstar Saga were bros attacks. Instead, there are bros items that take their place. The main difference between the two is how bros items are bought in stores or found in blocks, and are used like any other item. On one hand, it's kind of nice that you don't have to worry about replenishing BP, and bros items are so cheap and abundant that you almost never have to worry about running out. Still though, I would have preferred a BP system like any other Mario and Luigi games. The moves are still pretty useful though. Green shells can get a lot of blows in, fire flowers can burn enemies, ice flowers can lower defense, cannonballers do a lot of damage, trampolines can be used almost endlessly as long as you get the action command right, and mixed flowers create a large ball of fire and hit multiple enemies at the same time. The biggest issue for me when it comes to bros items are the action commands, as unlike in a lot of other Mario RPGs where the goal is to press a button at the right time to deal a little extra damage, here quite a few action commands of these items rely on pressing the button over and over again at the right time until you mess up. The trampoline, pocket chomp, copy flower, etc. I'm already not that great at action commands, so having to pay this close attention to press the button at the right time for basically each character during a boss fight makes the game a lot more tedious and complicated and just frustrating than it could have been. One thing that was definitely a step down from Superstar Saga is the overworld, or the lack thereof. In Partners in Time, instead of getting an overworld, you get Princess Peach's castle, which isn't bad, it's just not as good as the Bean Bean Kingdom countryside in my opinion. All throughout the castle are time portals, leading to different places in the Mushroom Kingdom's past. And more areas in the castle are unlocked as the adventure goes on, mostly from new abilities. You can buy items and equipment too, which is convenient, but the thing that I think makes it a step down is just how small it is, only having a few floors, no enemies, and barely any secret collectibles. There is a basement at least. Sorta reminds me of Toad Town or Rogueport Sewers, although it's on a much smaller scale, and you barely visit it. The only reason you ever visit the place more than once is because of a strange salesman. Fawful. Yeah, that's right. While he might not be a villain in this game, he does play a pretty alright role as a cameo. He sells special badges in exchange for beans. Yeah, they come back for Partners in Time, yet are much simpler this time. For starters, there's only one bean type instead of 4, and they're found in the ground like chuckle beans were. Fawful does have some decent badges for sale, especially the XP badges, which you should probably get since the end of this game gets tough. More on that later though. In fashion with every other Mario and Luigi game, Partners in Time is an area where you have to go inside of someone or something, adding to my fear of Alpha Dream having a fucking vor fetish. This time you go inside of a giant alien Yoshi, and I have to say that this is probably one of the scariest moments in any Mario game. After you get eaten, it's a pretty simple dungeon, but I will admit that this is the point where I quit the game the first time I played it. There's not really anything I don't like about the place per se, it's just I'd been losing an interest in a game in a while when I first played it, and I was so busy with a lot of other stuff, you know, making my hour and 17 minute long Super Paper Mario video that really sucks. Like, I wish I had never made that, but, you know, I don't even know why I keep trying at this point. But anyway, I just put the game down quickly after that, so, yeah. But, now I finally get to clear the dungeon, and honestly, it's not too bad. All you do is solve puzzles to rescue Yoshis, who help you progress. It's pretty easy, the puzzles aren't too bad, and it ends in the best way possible, with everyone escaping through its anus. Moving on, one of my favorite parts of the game is Volcano, mostly because of this one part where a Thwomp is disappointed because you stop an eruption, and his wife is really upset at you for ruining his day. Man, talk about a good spouse. I just found it really wholesome for some reason. Yeah, I find a relationship between Senni and Rock just wholesome. Bowser and Baby Bowser team up for a fight together too, and I love how neither of them realize they're the same person. Professor Egad built his first lab here too. It's just too bad that he's one of the only Mario characters, at least familiar Mario characters, you get to see young. It would have been so cool if a lot more made some cameos, but oh well. Speaking of characters, let's start with the villains, the Shrews. They don't seem to have any clear motive other than conquest. But like previously stated, they are scary, seriously. This game gets dark of how many characters straight up die. Well, not die, I mean, the closest to dying in a game that they possibly could. They get turned into purple mushrooms, but at that point, you might as well be dead. There's one cutscene in particular where Stuffwell tells the bros to move on after some important characters you've grown to know are turned into shrooms, but there's nothing they can do for them now, he says. Dark. Their monarch Princess Shrew is an alright main villain, mostly because of how you don't see her too often, making it tense when you actually run into her. A big part of why I find her and the Shroops a lot scarier than most other bad guys in Mario games is their foreign language. There's a creepy aspect of not being able to understand what they're saying. Plus, the princess barely resembles a human in behavior, being closer to a monster than a charismatic leader like Peach. But I have to be honest about something. For some reason, I think she's kinda hot. I mean, I have no clue why I think she is. I have this weird thing for her. I doubt anyone would have know about it. I'm sorry. The Toadsworths are quite good too, their chemistry is just great, with both being overprotective of Peach. One of my favorite cutscenes is when young Toadsworth is running away from his older counterpart, who's questioning what happened to Peach. Eventually they work together to please Peach, and they're the ones to teach the outside of battle moves as well. One character I like quite a bit is Kylie Koopa, a reporter girl who is actually quite helpful, lending a hand quite a few times. She almost seems like a Paper Mario partner, and she has the whole extroverted interviewer personality, or whatever you call that. Other than her, well, this game honestly really doesn't have too many interesting characters other than those. The only one I can think of is Toadbert, one of Princess Peach's attendants, and the only one that knows what happened to her, except he doesn't quite remember everything that happened, but he does give this low quality sketch, giving some foreshadowing. And him and Kylie Koopa are the important characters I was talking about earlier that got turned into mushrooms. Yeah, that part is pretty depressing. The place this event happens is known as Star Shrine, and some pretty ominous foreshadowing happens. The Cobalt Star has a life of its own, being the home of a spirit that promises to help the bros defeat the Shroops, yet baby Luigi seems to be scared of it. Yeah, that's not a great sign. We all know it's probably gonna happen at the end. Poor Luigi doesn't have a great time either, as this talking star door really doesn't like him, saying he's the only one of the group not pure enough of heart to pass through, forcing him to travel around the hill to look for a special block, but making him answer some questions where he only gets the wrong options and can never answer the questions right. Then he accuses him of being a liar, until the poor guy has an emotional breakdown. At least Mario and the baby stand up for him, and it turns out this whole thing was just a test. Yeah. I mean, yes, if something like that was really necessary. Please guys, stop Luigi abuse today. At the end though, you get the 5th shard, leaving only one more to go. With most of the star back together, we can now enter the final area, Shrub Castle, and this is where I think the game starts to get really hard, as the enemies here are so annoying to deal with. Their attacks deal a lot of damage and are tough to dodge, and these flying guys can even bring defeated enemies back to life, making things even more painful. But be sure to fight as many enemies as possible, because you do not want to be under-leveled for what comes after this. The castle lasts pretty long as well, with a whole underground section at the end too, because why not? On the positive side, no puzzles are that super hard to figure out or anything, and there are lots of pipes throughout the castle that take you back to the beginning, but can also be used to return to that part of the castle when you return, which is pretty convenient. Seriously, this is a concept that a lot of other Mario RPGs could really use. I love Paper Mario, but having to backtrack all the way out of Bowser's Castle to leave is a pain. Speaking of pain, there's one part that really bothers me, this UFO minigame. When the heroes finally find Peach, she's behind this force field, and although she's happy to see them, she warns them of putting the Cobalt Star back together. And then Princess Shrew attacks from her UFO, so the bros attack them for their UFO they find nearby. To play this minigame, you have to time jumps with each bros on these blocks. The higher the meter is, the higher the ship moves up, and then when Mario hits the block, it shoots. But hitting Princess Shroop's ship does nothing, instead you need to shoot her troop ships back at her. The problem is that you can only get hit 4 times before you get a game over. Yeah, this is the only game over I got during the whole adventure, and it really sucked having to listen to Peach's dialogue all over again. Her ship also takes 4 hits to beat as well, so you really can't screw up that much, which is really easy to do since those ships are hard to hit, let alone knock into Shroobs. It took me multiple tries to get this done. But when it's over, Peach gets freed and it's time to fight Princess Shrew. She starts the battle with a floating chair with a force field, or whatever, I honestly don't know what to call it. The damager, you have to take out her force field, only it doesn't matter how much damage you do to it, instead the number of hits, so copy flowers and trampolines are your best bet. I love the way she attacks though, she moves so eloquently and her energy attacks look cool. She kinda reminds me of a DBZ character in a way. Yeah, I know there's something wrong with me, I have no clue why I have a thing for her. I'm disgusted with myself too. While she's riding her space chair or whatever, she can shoot lasers and turn into the spider mech, which you better make sure doesn't fall on you or else you'll get dazed sometimes. When Shrew was finally taken out, Peach reveals she's the last star piece, but says she can't let it be reunited. But, I mean, she kinda just has it out in the open, and the Cobalt Star is able to move on its own like we saw earlier, so I don't know what Peach is thinking. Especially since Baby Bowser comes along and steals a shard piece and places it into the star himself. Then Princess Shrew dies, and the Cobalt Star goes haywire and turns Bowser into a shroom, bringing this game's kill count to at least 5, or probably more. I don't know how I've been keeping track. Peach then finally explains everything that's been going on from the beginning, which would have helped a lot sooner because, yeah, this probably could have saved us some time. When she first arrived in the past, she was attacked by Princess Shroop's older sister, yet she was still able to seal her away into the Cobalt Star and then shattered it. Unfortunately, she still had to deal with her younger sister and got captured. But you really don't have much time to process all of that because now the elder sister is freed and a true final fight begins. Just like her sister, this battle is intense with 2 phases. The first one's pretty easy, but the second one just might be the toughest boss battle in any Mario RPG, in some people's opinions at least. Similar to Cackleta's soul, older Princess Shrew has multiple body parts with multiple HP bars. Her crown needs to be taken out before we can do any real damage to her, and these parts can regenerate. She also has over 3,000 HP in each phase, and her attacks, oh her attacks. let's just say it's a good thing I was prepared for this fight with Level Up's equipment and stuff, because I really suck at dodging her attacks here, I'll admit. There's just so much great about this fight. The music's epic, the scenery is epic, and it just gives this grand sense of scale and what's at stake. Elder Princess Shrew also isn't a great selfless leader either, since she shoots down her own ships and her troops to attack. I would hate to be them. This fight might drag on for quite a while, but I love it. Even though Partners in Time really dropped the ball in my opinion when it comes to the last area, this battle really makes up for it. Once the Elder Princess is finally beat, Baby Luigi decides to disrespect the dead, and use Baby Bowser's corpse as a trampoline. I can't be the only one who finds this kind of disturbing, can I? Well, the group finally discovers that baby tears can revert people who got shroomified back to normal, but thankfully EGAD discovers a chemical compound similar enough to do the job, and everyone in the past is brought back to life, which is good because it'd be kind of awkward if Baby Luigi had to be tortured to save everyone. Although there's still one last boss to fight. Yeah, even though the fight against Elder Shrew was a perfect conclusion, the devs added one last boss fight for whatever reason I don't understand. Bowser eats Princess Shroop's corpse, yeah, you get that as an item when you beat her, and becomes super powerful again. Even worse, you can't directly attack in this battle. Instead, the only way to beat him is to either dodge his attacks or deflect them back at him. You can't use items either, so it doesn't matter how many 1-ups or mushrooms you brought. If you can't dodge enough of his attacks, you will die, and possibly have to do both Shrew Princess fights all over again. There is a safe spot right before, thankfully, and the fight is really easy to be honest, so while losing this fight will ruin your day, it's unlikely. Once you win, there's the usual heartfelt moment, only this time even more so with this really cute moment with Luigi and Baby Luigi. And that's it, that was Mario & Luigi Partners in Time. I have to say that I did enjoy it quite a bit. Is it a better game than Superstar Saga? Well, no. But I do think that Partners in Time improved upon a lot of aspects, like outside of battle mechanics, and with technical things like graphics and audio. The story is also one of the better ones in the Mario series with just how dark it is. There's a lot of cute and funny moments, the babies add a lot to the mix. I think it's an underrated game overall, yet not without its flaws. The lack of a BP system, the overcomplicated action commands, and puzzles and abundance of tutorials really are a big issue that bring the game down. Plus, the last quarter of the exception of the first two final bosses is a drag. You can say that Partners in Time is a mixed bag. I'd say that the good definitely outweighs the bad, and compared to some other Mario RPGs that came out later like Sticker Star, it's one of the better ones in the series. One thing to think about though is when this game came out, every Mario RPG so far was awesome, regarded as some of the best of all time. Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario, Superstar Saga, and Thousand Year Door are masterpieces. So when this game came out, the expectations were high, and when it was just good, people are a bit disappointed. On the downside, Partners in Time is kind of hard to find, only being re-released once on the Wii U Virtual Console, which is dead now, and a DS copy goes for almost $100 on eBay. And with Alpha Dream being dead, we'll probably never see a remake. Hopefully it might get released on Switch Online someday, but until then, just emulate it, I guess. Anyway, hope everyone had a good time watching this video, and I'll see you all later.